Hi, welcome everyone. I know we're getting towards the end of another really difficult term for lots of people, particularly those in the NHS and education are just on your knees. We're all really tired and exhausted. But I just want to give you a few quick updates on some various things to do with church life, notably about the easing of restrictions and how that relates to Sunday services, and plans for the summer, plans for the autumn, and then some update and news about the diocese. And if the video looks quite long, then you can either click on the little gear illustration on YouTube and you can speed me up and make me much quicker, or in the item description on YouTube, you can just skip ahead to the bits of the video that you're most interested in. Or of course, you can watch the whole thing and earn extra brownie points, up to you. So now that 19th of July has passed, what are the guidelines for using the church building? Well, we're allowed to sing again in church, and I know that's going to be a game changer for many. Cause of great rejoicing. Chris said last Sunday at the outdoor church service that actually just worshipping by yourself, it is just not the same as worshipping with other people together. It's so much easier to worship from the heart with others. So I really hope that you'll come and join us. Just a couple of stories to encourage you as well. We had someone in a few weeks ago, an older lady in her 80s. She'd been watching church from home for a year and she thought, well, maybe she'll never go back into church building. It's very convenient to watch from home. But then she came along because her grandchild was being baptised. And she said to me afterwards, actually, I realise now how much I've really missed church. It's so much better being back in the building than watching online. So if you're able to come, I really would encourage you to come. Or a story about someone else, a member of our congregation, who came back into the building for the first time a few weeks ago and was really nervous about coming in, understandably so. She hadn't been into crowded places before. And she said afterwards, actually, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. And so if you're nervous about coming, please just try it, because I think you'll find it's not as bad as you fear. However, we know that the rates of infection in Southampton are still rising, and we know that not everyone who wants a vaccine has been able to have their second dose yet, or had time for that to kick in. And so with that in mind, at least for the summer, here are some of the precautions that we're still going to have in place. We're going to ask people who come to wear a mask unless they're exempt. That's because wearing a mask greatly reduces the risk of transmission to other people, especially if you're singing. So please, I'd encourage you to wear a mask as a sign of love and respect for others around you. We're still going to keep the windows and doors open, and we're going to install a couple of child safety gates to stop the toddlers escaping. We're still going to encourage you to sanitize your hands on the way in and to sign in or scan in using the NHS COVID-19 app. Although you don't have to book in advance to reserve a seat now. And we're going to limit our overall numbers to 100 in the building, which is still much less than our pre-COVID capacity. If you're a bit nervous about coming into the building, then feel free to pick up one of these on the way in and place it on the seat or seats next to you, just as a polite indication to other people that you want a little bit more space. If you're more nervous still about coming into a crowded place, then I'd encourage you to go up to the balcony. There's loads of room up there and you can space out as much as you want. And of course, for those who aren't able to come into the building or still clinically extremely vulnerable, or who don't want to come into the building, then we'll carry on streaming online so that you can join in as well. And by the way, if you haven't had a vaccine yet, I really would encourage you to do so. I've been double vaccinated for a while. If you've got qualms about receiving a vaccine, feel free to give me a bell, and I'm very happy to talk that through with you. So what are our services going to be like over the summer? Well as being able to praise God in song, which we're so looking forward to, in terms of content, we're going to be looking at Jesus' teaching in the Sermon on the Mount, some really practical teaching on what it means to follow Jesus day by day. And before that, we're going to have one of our occasional sermons from the series on race and the gospel. On the first Sundays of the month, we will share communion for those who are comfortable doing that. And God willing and weather permitting, on the 8th of August, we'll have another service outdoors on the Boney, Colebrook Green, which so many people have enjoyed over the last couple of months. In the building, for families, we hope that families will be able to come and join us over the summer. There's going to be no organised children's groups, but we have got some family mats back out, we've got a baby and toddler area back out, we've got a self-service creche, and we've got the red buckets for children and the yellow bags with activities for babies. So we really hope that some of the families will be able to join us as well. For those who can't come into the building, as I said, we're going to keep on streaming, but we do want to give our hard-working tech teams a bit of a break over the summer. And so there'll be 1 or 2 Sundays when things will look a little bit different, and there'll be some Sundays, 1 or 2 Sundays, where we might not manage a live stream at all. We hope you understand that they need a break just as much as everyone else. So what about the autumn? What are things going to look like in the autumn? Well, let me start actually by showing you this picture of the gatepost, which is almost finished being repaired after the car knocked it over. And interestingly, a couple of people, as soon as they've seen this nearly finished gatepost, have said it's felt like a picture from the Lord, an encouraging picture from the Lord to us as a church, about how God is rebuilding us as a church community. And as I've prayed about that and weighed it up, I think it's because this gatepost is both the same and different. The gatepost is the same, the purpose is the same, it's still to be a gatepost. And the purpose of us as a church is still the same. Our purpose is still to go deeper with God and grow closer to each other and reach further with the gospel. And the shape of the gatepost is exactly the same. And the shape of church life is going to be the same. We're still going to have Sunday services, we're still going to have small groups and so on. But the gatepost is also different. Some of the bricks are the same, but maybe they're in different places, and maybe they've had to be cut to a new shape to fit in. Some of the bricks are new. They've had to find some new bricks to come in and fill in the gaps in the gatepost. And we as individuals in our church community, we've changed, haven't we? Some of us have felt reshaped by the Lord during the last 18 months. Maybe we're not going to want to give our usual, the way that we were volunteering previously. Maybe we feel God is calling us to something a little bit different. And so God has been changing us. We're not the same as we were 18 months ago. And so even if we wanted to just sort of wind back the clock 18 months and carry on as if nothing had happened, actually we wouldn't be able to. So many people aren't sure if they're ready to carry on volunteering in the ways that they were. I remember a couple of years ago calculating that any given Sunday took about 35 volunteers just to put on 2 Sunday services, more if it was a Superstar Sunday. And so we simply can't go back immediately to having 2 Sunday services. So here's what we're going to do instead. And the reason, let me just explain, is because we're really keen to begin gathering our children's groups again. We haven't been able to do that over the last 18 months. If we think the pandemic has been hard on adults and older people watching church from home, actually it's been most difficult for the children. They're the ones whose faith development has really been hardest hit. And so we want to make opportunities to regather our children together, but we haven't yet got a children's team leader in post. And our previous volunteers at Junior Church aren't all happy to carry on. So 2 Sundays a month, we're going to have a service which is more aimed for families. So the first Sunday, the third Sunday of the month, more aimed at families. That might be an all-age service, or it might be a service with junior church groups. Older people or those without families are still more than welcome to come along to those services, because you're vital in helping nurture that next generation of Christian disciples as well. And then on the other 2 Sundays a month, the second and fourth Sundays of the month, we're not going to be so set up for families. We'll still have the family mats and some activity buckets and things, but there will be no led activities for children. And so that service will be, they'll have a longer sermon, and there'll be some maybe mixture of music, including some more traditional music, a bit more liturgy and so on. But of course, families are still welcome to come along to that. Maybe if it's a 2-parent family, one of you will, you'll take it in turns as adults to come along to that service, so that you can be fed and you can worship the Lord without having to worry about the little children crawling around your feet. And so in any given month, actually there's going to be 6 services that you could come to, because we're really hopeful that Elevate and Sunday at 3 will be able to restart as well. So 6 services to choose from. We hope that you will come and join in with some of those services in the building. But of course, we'll carry on streaming for those who aren't able to come to the building. Over the autumn, we're going to need to keep listening to God, seeking his will for us for the future. That's going to be a focus for us over the autumn. If you're new to church since the pandemic started, then I'd really encourage you to get involved in volunteering in one of our teams. It's the best way to meet new people and get to know others in church life. And we're going to, as I say, need to build up these volunteer teams again. So now is a perfect opportunity to join in with one of those teams. You can chat to me or others about the different sorts of teams that we need. So here's what's happening. God is rebuilding us as church. In Ephesians, the Apostle Paul pictures us as being like the stones which God is piecing together by his Spirit to become that holy dwelling place where God lives by his Spirit. The foundations are still the same, the Bible, the apostles and prophets, and the chief cornerstone is still the same, Christ Jesus. But he's repiecing us back together, remodeling us, preparing us for these next stages of our church life. And that makes me so excited to see what God is going to be doing. Let me just reiterate, these plans for the autumn are just a stepping stone. Very often God only guides one step at a time, doesn't he? And so as we take this step forward in the autumn, I hope it will become clearer what God is calling us to do as the next step beyond that in January. How he's calling us to serve our local community and be church together for this particular point in time. Do you remember that picture of the gatepost? As I pondered on it a bit more, I realised that the new gatepost is so much stronger than the old gatepost. The metal core of it is completely new, and the cement holding it all together is completely new as well. And I don't doubt that as a church community, we are going to come out of this pandemic so much stronger as well. God has made us so much more prayerful through this pandemic. He's given us a clearer focus on discipleship through this pandemic. We've got an online presence now which we didn't have beforehand. These are just some of the ways that God has been strengthening us. And therefore we can be really excited about what God is going to continue to do through us and in us and amongst us through the autumn and beyond. Okay, a couple of final things to mention. As I said, we're not going to have a children's team leader in place for September. We are continuing discussions with one of the candidates, and we're hopeful that we might be able to appoint her, but we're not certain on that yet, so please keep praying for that process. And the other piece of news, which is a sad and difficult piece of news, is to say that the Bishop of Winchester, Bishop Tim, he's the senior bishop in the Church of England area of which we're part, has decided to step down. It's been a very difficult few months for the diocese, partly because of the pandemic. And it's become clear through this time that Bishop Tim has lost the trust of many other leaders within the diocese. And so after a period of reflection, he's announced his retirement and intention to retire in a few months' time. Bishop Debbie, the Bishop of Southampton, has done a fantastic job keeping the diocese going whilst Bishop Tim has had to stand down. And so we really need your prayers for the diocese, both for Bishop Tim and for Bishop Debbie and for Bishop David, the other bishop who had to stand down but is now standing back up again and coming back into role. Please do pray for them and for all involved in these painful discussions. It's really obvious that great healing is needed. So if you've made it through to the end of the video, well done. Thank you for listening. I'm really looking forward to seeing lots of you over the summer, I hope. But if I don't see you, have a great time and a great rest. God bless.